Hi, my name's Rob Scott from UC Today News. Hope you're doing well. So today I'm joined by Andy Allison, who's the Chief Product Officer and VP of Marketing at Spectralink, and also the founder and principal analyst Fazil Balkaya from Balkaya Consulting. And we're going to be discussing how relevant DECT technology is in today's hybrid workplace. Welcome, everybody.
Hey, Rob.
Hello. Thanks for having us.
Oh, thanks for joining me. Looking forward to today's session. And just before we kick off, however, how about we just do a quick round of introductions? Andy, would you like to go first?
Sure. Yeah. As you stated, I'm the Chief Product Officer and Vice President of Marketing for Spectralink. And, I've been in the unified communications market for quite a long time. And at Spectralink, we focus on the mobility aspect within unified communications, especially for organizations and users that are within the enterprise, within the four walls, often sometimes is referred to as. So that includes our DECT portfolio, which is our handsets, along with the infrastructure for full interoperability across UC platforms. And in our Wi-Fi handsets, whether that's a traditional feature phone or even enterprise ruggedized smartphones that we offer, again, focused on Wi-Fi.
That's great. Thanks for that, Andy. And Fazil.
Hello, everyone. Again, my name is Fazil Balkaya, and I've been an industry analyst and consultant on cloud communications and collaboration, specifically focusing around UCaaS, CCaaS, and CPaaS for the last 5 years. While my analyst work predominantly focuses on quantitative analysis and trends, such as market shares, growth figures, market sizing, my consulting work usually focuses on more strategy-oriented stuff, such as product development, product management, corporate strategy, or corp dev, and go-to-market. Previously, I've held several product and corporate development positions within telecom vendors, like Broadsoft, which is now Cisco, and Sonos, which is now Ribbon.
Thanks, Fazil, and a warm welcome to you both. So I suppose just to kick today's session off, let's just set the scene a little bit. And Fazil, I'm hoping you can give me some perspective on the marketplace right now. But what does the endpoints and kind of DECT marketplace look like right now from your perspective?
Absolutely, absolutely. So over the last couple of years, thanks to the pandemic, the news headlines were flashed with cloud comms, platforms, and all this stuff. But with return to the office and increasing hybrid work environments and even further understanding the importance of frontline workers, focus of innovation and marketing is also shifting nowadays, and we're seeing a lot of emphasis on such things. And also from a market perspective, a good example is the IP phones market today. This market has been in decline for the last couple of years, again, thanks to the pandemic and many other issues. But this quarter, first quarter of 2022, actually slightly overtook the previous quarter, which was the fourth quarter of 2021. And this is an extremely unusual case, excluding a very high growth scenario, because typically Q4 is the strongest quarter of the year and Q1 is the softest. So this is a very solid signal of recovery here. Obviously, there could be various elements playing into it, such as global shortage being slightly easing and backlog delivery of orders, but it's still a very promising sign for the market. And then from an analysis perspective of global workforce, 80% of the global workforce are actually frontline workers. Although we are used to seeing a lot of news around platforms and even white collar workers, people who are actually in the office, this 80% represents 2 billion people worldwide. So it's actually the backbone of communities and economies around the world, and it's time we pay the deserved attention to them.
Very interesting. And Andy, from your perspective as a vendor in this marketplace, how is DECT kind of plugging the gaps in these hybrid environments, if you will?
Well, yeah, with this hybrid approach that we're seeing across the globe of workers home, full-time or sometimes come in the office, etc. This whole time through the pandemic, frontline workers still had to be in that in the physical space in the location. So whether it's on the retail floor, even if they're bringing out goods and shopping to customers in the parking lot, they still need to be there in the manufacturing and producing of those goods, or transportation distribution. That part of the market grew significantly overall, and it just doesn't stop the need for those users to be there and be part of that workflow and communications, whether it's within the company or directly with customers.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? We're certainly seeing, a big focus on employee experience now and connecting people, inclusivity, and that kind of thing. And it's it's certainly a positive move. And in terms of DECT as a technology, I was kind of keen to understand, maybe from your perspective first, Fazil, in terms of kind of, how relevant, that type of technology is in today's market, because I'm hearing Wi-Fi nowadays, but, DECT is still big in today's market as far as I know. What do you think, Fazil?
Yep, I mentioned about the 80% number, but a similar number is over 85 of the companies worldwide actually employ frontline workers. So even from this statistic, I know the number could differ from company to company and vertical to vertical, but it's relevant all across the board just from this number. There is usually research around decreasing need for phones, but I believe those should be referring to the desk phones. Field workers' need for specialized endpoints are still there and even increasing, in my opinion. For the field workers' case, security, for example, is always on top of mind and which needs to be addressed. Also, with such field workers, there could be a natural need for precision, urgency, automated alerts, emergency response, and others as needed by the industry and the vertical. And such use cases are not addressed by regular endpoints markets. And also during the previous question, I mentioned that it's time we paid the well-desired attention of frontline workers. According to research, over 50% of field workers that are not in management position do not feel valued as employees. This could be fields that during the pandemic they had to work and probably didn't pay enough attention or the desired attention to these people. And according to research, technology ranks third on the list of these workers to reduce stuff like workplace stress and make them happier. So obviously, it's very relevant.
Yeah, interesting. And Andy, from your perspective, maybe I'll kind of backfill that question with a little bit more around DECT. But how relevant is DECT in the conversation right now?
It's still highly relevant. A lot of times people think of DECT as, oh, this is an old technology. Why would anyone use that anymore? But the reality is a couple of factors. The first is that a lot of organizations have already deployed DECT. They have it in their infrastructure. They have it deployed for those frontline workers or those back office manufacturing distribution workers. And they need something that is still reliable and they're able to just depend on it. DECT as a technology has always been solid, great for HD voice. You can have crystal clear communication wirelessly, and it doesn't interfere or have interference with a lot of other core technologies like Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. Now, we do also build Wi-Fi products and sell a lot of that. But a lot of times organizations and IT departments don't fully have their Wi-Fi network ready to take on real-time communications. And so there's a lot of optimization and you see a lot of trends going from Wi-Fi 5 to Wi-Fi 6, but that's going to take time. And so for those that they just need to be able to make a call. They need to have that reliable communication regardless of the platform. That's where we keep seeing that demand for DECT continuing.
That's interesting. So can you talk us through some of the kind of common use cases that you're seeing at Spectralink, in terms of kind of, where this kind of technology is most popular right now?
Sure. Again, we see this in areas like manufacturing, where you have workers on the floor who are giving updates, responding to alerts of needs to see service equipment running. There's a lot of stuff going on with manufacturing 4.0 and or industry 4.0 so that it's up and running in the latest technologies, but sometimes they just need to make a phone call. And so we have a lot of customers utilizing it that way. Even we have a recent customer, Saipem, that is in oil and gas and transportation of oil and gas. So you think about these large container ships. So one of the great things about DECT is you can optimize how the wireless signal carries through in a highly reflective environment like giant steel containers all over the place. It can be quite challenging to make sure it's reliable. And so, they chose Spectralink's DECT solution so that they can put these across their fleet for communications, even within the ship. And that as they go from one location to another, one country to another, the frequencies change. And you have to actually be able to adapt those frequencies pretty much on the fly, and we're able to support them with that. And so you see that in those types of use cases as well.
I think that those are great use cases when it comes to some of the examples I gave, such as the precision case. So thanks for confirming that live.
Yeah, and I'm picking up on three key words here so far, Jensen, and one of them's it's D for dependable. I mean that when you need good quality wireless voice, DECT is a great solution. The second one is safety, or some kind of specialist kind of environment where you need to kind of take communication up a notch. And the third one is this thing about inclusivity and making sure everyone is connected to the organization. So that's really interesting. And I suppose, there's not many organizations that probably don't have, the requirement for some kind of wireless communication technology nowadays. I'm interested to hear from you, Andy, in terms of Spectralink, its latest innovations, what's going on at Spectralink right now in terms of kind of portfolio. Could you give us a bit of an update?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're seeing in the market, in the broader UC market, that everyone and you and Fazil have been tracking and reporting on is that change from the on-prem traditional PBX to more of the hosted UCaaS environments. And in those changes, oftentimes organizations are making those broad decisions. CTOs, CIOs are looking at their communications. How can they improve reliability, security, availability of those tools to those workers? And sometimes it's thought of more around that hybrid use case. We've got the remote workers at home, or maybe some people that are the desk workers, and we've got our laptops and our cameras, and that's great. But then you still have the frontline workers, and sometimes they are forgotten in the technology decision. And one of the things that we have focused on in those innovations is to make sure that it's okay, no matter what that decision is. If you want to go with a Cisco WebEx, Microsoft Teams, Ring Central, Zoom, etc., it'll just work and it'll keep working. So we can help bridge that gap and then maintain that voice technology as they proceed and roll these new platforms out. So even just recently, we announced with Microsoft the native and direct Microsoft Teams voice calling integration. So that uses the Microsoft hosted SB effectively in their cloud in Azure. So it reduces the number of infrastructure, the amount of infrastructure required, whether that's on-prem for the customer as a gateway or even through a service provider, but they can go directly with Microsoft. So again, maintaining that collaboration with Microsoft. We've been doing this for a long time, all the way back, Sky for Business, Link, etc. And we're continuing to drive that innovation and keep the reliable DECT technology relevant for now and into the future.
And that's a key point, isn't it? Is the integration with these cloud platforms. I mean, I'm sure Fazil can agree that Microsoft Teams, for example, I mean, what their numbers nowadays are, 250 million monthly active users. There's a significant, base there that have probably got, this kind of technology yet to even look at, I suppose, because cloud voice is only being it's a very small percentage of that Microsoft Teams base right now. So it must be huge potential out there to connect into these popular cloud platforms. What do you think?
Absolutely. I mean, from a platforms perspective and productivity perspective, we are seeing a lot of consolidation to the usual suspects. But the endpoints market is something very different compared to the actual platform, actual collaboration platform we are talking about. So bridging that gap in terms of integration and making it simple from an integration perspective is actually very appealing for the enterprises to go for such solutions and meet demands. So that's absolutely right. And on top of the 250 number, Microsoft also likes to pronounce the 80 million phone licenses number as well. So there's absolutely a huge potential over there.
Yeah. Andy, for anyone looking to find out more about Spectralink, the technology, and more about the marketplace, what's the best way to get in touch?
Nice and simple, spectralink.com.
Fantastic. Well, I'm afraid that's all we've got time for today. However, if you're interested in finding out more, as Andy said, jump onto spectralink.com and I'll put a link in the description. So Andy, Fazil, great talking to you today, and thank you for taking me through DECT in this session.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
And thanks to everybody for watching UC Today. If you've got some good takeaways from today's session, do give us a quick mention on social and subscribe to our channel for more industry news and insights. I'm Rob Scott from UC Today. Thanks for watching.